Hey guys, okay, this is where we left off. I didn't want to go into a 40-minute lecture. I should have cut that sooner. Sorry. All right, so we're going to talk now about, for homeostasis, 3 different pathways that help us control which reactions are happening. I'll change my pen color here. All right, so first it's the extrinsic. So think outside, right? Intrinsic is internal, and then common, and we're going to see what's between. All right, so extrinsic, you've got factor 3, right? And then factor 9. So if you guys know something got damaged, there was a cut or bruise, or I should say a cut or crushing incident for peripheral tissues, the tissue factor 3 will be released. Then it gets followed up by the activation of the enzyme complex factor 10. And they're talking about all of these guys, which actually the better figure is coming up, the coagulation phase, sorry. So extrinsic, I don't know how you guys want to remember this, but you'll see that factor 10 is also playing a role in intrinsic. So this begins with activating our proenzymes. So they go from proenzymes inactive to enzymes, which are just active, right? Enzymes. To collagen fibers that are specifically or that are present at the injury site. Platelets release platelet factor 3, right, which is okay, common factor. So again, factor 10 is present. Prothrombin is going to be activated by factor X, and that'll get prothrombin to thrombin, the active enzyme form. And thrombin is going to get us fibrinogen to, which is insoluble, can't be broken down, to fibrin and get us the clot. So remember, I've said this several times now, it goes from fibrinogen to fibrin to a clot, okay? And thrombin is the one that gets us from fibrinogen to fibrin. So this will be thrombin. Oops, I can spell, I swear. Thrombin, okay? And thrombin has to be activated by the, I'm just going to put X factor so you guys know that. Okay. So these are things that I would say draw out. Why is this guy like right in the middle of my screen? Come here, jerkhead. Okay. Okay. So coagulation phase, here's your factor. So the extrinsic, oh no, what happened? Shenanigans. Why aren't you working? Extrinsic, right? So we've got factor 3, probably good to know calcium. You don't need to really remember factor 7 if you don't want to. But then there's their tissue factor complex, intrinsic. So this is going to be enzymes that have to be activated, platelet factor 3, see calcium plays a role here and here. And then factors 8 and 9 help activate factor 10 complex. Factor 10 is up here on the top. It's going to get prothrombin into thrombin. Thrombin is going to get fibrinogen into fibrin. And then we have our lovely clot. Okay. This will be here until it retracts a little bit, which is, oh, there's no picture. You stinker butts. Okay. This retracts a little bit and is replaced by scar tissue. And hopefully you have a bandage and some Neosporin on it. Okay. So thrombin is generated in the common pathway. It helps us, again, stimulate our tissue factor, right? And that helps PF3 get released by platelets, so platelet factor 3. This, again, is a positive feedback loop that speeds up the clotting process so you don't bleed out. There's antithrombin 3, which inhibits clotting. And people who have problems with clots in their, genetically speaking, or they have clots in their, they have clotting problems in their family. This is the one, there's a derivative of this they can take pre-surgery or to like a day-to-day basis based on how bad their clotting is in their family, because it inhibits the clotting. So it would stop them from having clots build up in their arteries in their brain, for example. All right, so heparin speeds up antithrombin 3. So heparin, again, prevents the clotting. We use this in our heparinized tubes when we take blood samples. And this this accelerates activation of antithrombin, which again inhibits clotting. So this accelerates this enzyme to inhibit clotting. It's kind of backwards, I guess, if you were in my head. Thrombomodulin, sorry. It will activate protein C, not the same thing as vitamin C. Protein C. This guy inactivates clotting factors and stimulates the formation of plasmin. Okay, so prostacyclin, this guy will inhibit platelets from aggregating and opposes certain factors. Again, this is for hemostasis. I said homeostasis up here way back when. But hemostasis is like managing how quickly and how slowly blood is or coagulation clotting is formed. It's hemostasis is a form of homeostasis. Sorry. Okay. Prostacyclin mentioned. Okay. Other calcium ions, especially and vitamin K, are essential to clotting. So you can genetically be predisposed to not have enough vitamin K, which means if you have an injury, and it could be a small injury, it can turn into a life-threatening injury if you're not able to get these processes started. So actually grew up with a guy who had, even if he just had a small cut on, like while we were outside at whatever playing sports, if he had any kind of bleeding, he had to go get an injection of vitamin K, like then and there on campus. Like they just kept it on hand for him. You'll notice all three, whether it's intrinsic, extrinsic, or common, all three require calcium. So when people say take your vitamins, they mean take your vitamins. Okay. Again, vitamin K required for all four of your clotting factors. So there are a couple of bleeding and clotting extremes. So thrombocytopenia, hemophilia are going to be your bleeding extremes, and thrombophilia and deep vein thrombosis are your clotting extremes. And those are genetically inherited typically. All right, so the clot retraction, they don't give us a picture of it, but it starts to pull the torn edges of the vessel close together. So if this is my vessel that was torn, my other side of the vessel, it's going to pull them together. So it brings them together. Again, stabilizing it. And as this happens, you've got a whole bunch of mechanisms getting this to complete repairs so that scar tissue can come in and do it. And then once that meshwork is formed, right, they'll stick to the fibrin strands. They'll contract. It'll become start retraction, like I said, and then a process continues over 30 to 60 minutes until, like, it could be 3 to several days, depending on the injury and the site and the location. And then you'll start to see scar tissue develop. And I'm sure somebody's noticed already that if, this happens, like just generally on your skin, it'll heal faster than if it was to happen at an articulation or a joint. So say your knuckle or a kneecap or something like that. Now I'm going to stop mumbling. I'm going to post this for you guys. I hope you're doing well. Always email me questions, and see you soon.